We have to figure this out real quick. Anyway, let me read this thing. I think it's very interesting. It was a guy that must have posted on a different forum before it was moved. I've looked around the internet for this person, and I hope that if somebody knows who did this, that they can contact him, because I really want to thank him and even have him on the show for doing this. But this is a guy who did a really, really good article about Tessarion and the Rose Cross and the Gnostic and the New Age, all connected, is the name of the article. Tessarion, Rose Croix, Gnostics, and the New Age, all connected? Question mark. And it was got by a guy called True Soul Ja. This is a repost of this. I've saved this thing, and I will put a link to the website of this forum. I really encourage you to go through it, because it's mostly links, and it's a lot of images of different symbols and things that you really have to just soak in. If you are concerned about this, please go check this out. It is at illusionsforum.net/phpbb3. You'll have to go to the website. It's conspiracyglows.com/nowhere-to-run. I'll post a link to this. Okay, well, he starts off here by saying that, you know, he was surprised to see what all this stuff turned up when he started looking into Tessarion's connections, and he was saying that he actually really likes the guy. He wasn't expecting all this information to come out and stuff. And then he, let's continue there. He says, first I want to show, okay, where to start? Oh yeah, it's like all research. It means you have to read it all to get the big picture, so please do it. Like I said, Tessarion was the starting point, so let's take his bio on his site. And then he notes all the people that are mentioned as, different people that he was associated with, different people his mother was associated with, and then his mentors and so on. I think the first bit here is the people he's talking about, the people that his mother, who was a psychic, and I can't seem to find anything on her. I was just trying to see what, it says she was famous, and in Ireland, on Irish television, to be a regular psychic on Irish television or something like that. So, I just wanted to see what she was about, what kind of things she was talking about, just to see if it gave any clues or whatever. But I couldn't find anything about that. But these people that I think he's mentioning here are people that were associated with his mother. And it says, first I want to show how everyone named there is elite, as in bloodline, secret society, celebrity, or academic, or simply altogether. And they are all part of a network or operate within this network, which of course is Brotherhood controlled, every part of it. Yep, it's just another face on the seven-headed dragon called Rose Cross Reformation, whatever. It's the counter movement, the artists, the Gnostics, New Age, the healers. It's all good people who talk fancy stuff all day long and are out to awake and educate us. Or could it be a bit different than it first meets the eye? So let's start with Tessarion's family, friends, and especially mentors. Shirley MacLaine goes through and he gives links to all these people, which is really interesting. Ed Mitchell. Well, let me stop there. Let me go back to Shirley MacLaine quick, because I did something with that. Well, it says here on his website that his Himalayan-born mother was a well-loved, internationally recognized clairvoyant whose affiliates included Barbara Max Hubbard, Sir George Trevelyan, Jerry Jampolsky, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, Shirley MacLaine. And so I actually emailed Shirley MacLaine and said, it says you were affiliated with this woman. I was wondering if you knew who this woman was. And they sent me back an email. This is an edit. I'm editing this back in because I just received this email. And it says, Dear Chris, Shirley is not an affiliate of any kind and doesn't even recall meeting this person. We have asked this Michael to remove her name from his site. Thank you and happy holidays. Okay, well, there you go. Lee Courvoisier, who he says, which was one of the architects of the UN headquarters, Ken Critchlow, and these are all people that his grandfather had association with. Tara Singh, the renowned philosopher, author, and teacher of the Theosophic Tome, A Course in Miracles. His grandfather taught a course on the Course in Miracles. He was the intimate friend of J. Kirsch Maradi, the world teacher, Swiss architect, Lee Courvoisier, the UN HQ guy, and all these other names. Eleanor Roosevelt, which oddly, Eleanor Roosevelt was the same person, I think, that he said his mother. Anyway. So anyway, he played a key role in Reverend Paul Solomon's Fellowship of the Inner Light, one of the first true American mystery schools. He now heads at the Foundation of Los Angeles. Michael was born and raised in Ireland and grew up learning metaphysics from Krishnamurti, Reverend Paul Solomon, and Peter Ballin. Okay, so these are people that were training him from a very early age. From Paul Solomon, the guy first American mystery school guy, who you can look at his logos, and whatnot, his philosophies and all that stuff. He's very clearly Rosicrucian. But don't believe me. Go check this out for yourself. It's not too hard to figure out. Anyway, let's keep on going down the line. He talks about the people with associations with this Sari Baba, who is a very interesting character. Obviously, some kind of false guru. He says he talks a lot of fancy stuff, or shall I say vomit, since I can't hear it anymore. He says there's only one religion, the religion of love. There's only one caste, the caste of humanity. There's only one language, the language of the heart. There's only one God. He's omnipotent. And he says, does that look like a brotherhood front or what? Referring to the one religion, one world, one everything, which you'll find a lot of in the Rosicrucian overall presentation, have to do with a one world religion and a one world government. And you can look at what the Rosicrucians say that their mission is, what they're doing, what kind of things that they have done. We'll just kind of look into this piece by piece. So it gives a lot of very interesting links to this Baba character. He says, what a role model. Look how spiritual he lives. Real basic. And it shows this ridiculous theme park thing that he lives in. Have a look at what the ex-followers have to say about the living God, Sai Baba. Also have a look at his logo. And I mean, it's Rose, one world religion brought to you by the Rose Cross. I mean, it's obviously promoting the unification of all religions, and it looks the symbolism is Rosicrucian, which you'll learn a lot of that as we go down here. It shows more things from the Rosicrucians and how they like to point that idea and the one world religion and all the different symbolism. By the end of this article, if you read it and see all the pictures, you'll know a lot more about this idea. He goes through a few more people: Barbara Max Hubbard, Alan Chadwick, President Nehru, Miss Roosevelt, Edgar Mitchell of theosophical.net. He says of Edgar Mitchell, he says, recommended by the Theosophical Society, like Krishnamurti, Sai Baba, Dalai Lama, etc., the whole gang of spiritual teachers or squad of the One World Religion team. The Theosophical Society was founded by Blavatsky, by the way, who claimed to be in contact with the hidden masters like Crowley or good old Hitler. And you'll find with Tessarian that he is such an apologist for Aleister Crowley and Blavatsky. I mean, he's basically just falling all over himself when they come up here. I'll play a real quick clip what he says about Aleister Crowley and how he was just not understood for what he was, and then he gets real mad because a Christian's asking him this question, and he's like, I don't want to debate this with you. You think that you just take it out of context and whatnot. Even if you took this out of context, though, I mean, just logically speaking, you are apologizing for something that is very clearly a huge part of this New World Order agenda. I mean, people have spent a lot of time implicating Aleister Crowley as a major player in this New World Order game, and here is this guy defending the hell out of this guy. Here, listen to him real quick.
That I don't know anything about, but I can certainly tell you that those quotes that have been taken from the book Magic and Theory and Practice have been totally misinterpreted. This is a case in point I was just talking to you about, Doug, is that people take one little line from Magic and Theory and Practice about the child sacrifices and so on without even printing the whole passage. People need to go to that area of the book. In fact, they need to go to the book and read it about the incredible, beautiful, the spirituality of that man and of that book have yet to be brought out. They pick on one little diatribe. He was addressing in that book false magicians. The quote is actually directed not to the ordinary reader because he was a magician. He printed his books for his own magical society and for other people practicing the occult arts. And he also knew that a bunch of maniacal, black magician type people were following him around and misinterpreting his works. These people are always having that problem. And when he wrote those pieces, he was addressing these people because that's what they wanted to hear. And if you read the footnotes to those passages, it says, and anyone who goes and believes what I've just said and does this is an idiot. It would be like today, somebody saying something on TV with a sort of, tongue-in-cheek type of way. Now, people always, bash Crowley. My God, that man, we have people in power today who dwarf the kind of, if he was, malign, my goodness, what we have today with these people's champions doing infinitely worse. So we need to do our homework there. Again, he was a man who had some very, pernicious parts to his personality. But so does a lot of other people. So do the people ruling the world today.
And please don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that he is doing this by him even just suggesting that Crowley was decent is somehow wrong. I don't think that's not what I'm trying to get at here. I'm just saying that that there's a lot more to Crowley than just that one quote. I mean, he quoted a lot of things saying his specific agenda. I mean, you got to take a lot of stuff out of context, not just the child sacrifice bit. You can have that if indeed the footnotes say that or whatever. We still got a long way to go in making him a great man and his spirituality being beautiful, especially considering the New World Order connections that this guy has. The fact that he's a Rosicrucian, or I think he was the Order of the Golden Dawn, and we'll see later how that ties into Rosicrucians. It's an important connection considering he at least admits to it. Okay, now this guy goes down the line. I'm trying to do this quick because this is such a long thing. Kubler-Ross, he's talking about it, gives the link to her. She says, she talks about a lot of things I vibe with, but when you look at the Sai Baba speeches, you'll note that he says a lot of things I vibe with too. I mean, overuse the word love and freedom and self-empowering, and pretty much everyone will vibe with it. That's the idea. Check her site. There's some subtle hints that she's Rose-Cross, like the Zeus statue. Rose-Cross are big time into Greek gods. Also, check her icons, Rose-Cross, as you'll see shortly. But for now, be skeptic and keep on reading. He goes into Jerry Jampolsky, who is a psychiatrist, formerly of the faculty at University of California. He is, let's see where he's going with that. Yeah, he says something here that's not right. He says, A Course in Miracles was written by Tara Singh, Tessarian's grandfather. That's not true. He wrote a book about A Course in Miracles and taught A Course in Miracles and was very involved and integral in its early days, but he did not write it. So he is wrong there. And he gives a link to Tara Singh higher here. I don't know if that's the same Tara Singh. I know that there's a master Tara Singh, and then there's this guy who started the Joseph Plan Foundation, who I believe is Tessarian's grandfather, the Joseph Plan Foundation guy. Let's see here. Okay, keeping on here, it says he received a lot of awards, one of them being the Order of British Columbia. He was an artist and an author, even an activist, as you will see alone. That does not speak for him being a Rose-Cross, or you're saying it does, as for the fact that people close to him were, and Tessarian is a Rosicrucian. Honestly, I don't see his point in saying that his grandfather was Rosicrucian, although the connections to the Paul Solomon thing, as we'll see later, is really weird, and the J. Krishnamurti and everything. Krishnamurti, Jiddu Krishnamurti, was very important. This is the guy that he says his mom went to one of this guy's schools. I think that somehow who Tessarian is, why he was trained, has something to do with this connection here. So I think this is important. And it's all a bit wrapped up into this guy somehow. It was friends of his grandfather. I have no idea who his father is. Maybe it was Jordan Maxwell. I don't know. But I have no idea who this J. Krishnamurti was. Sorry, I'm not really saying it's Jordan Maxwell, but Anyway. Born of a middle-class Brahmin priest, it was recognized at the age of 14 by the Theosophist Annie Besant and C.W. Ledbetter as the coming world teacher, and proclaimed to be the vehicle for the reincarnation of Christ in the West and of Buddha in the East. Mr. Besant adopted the boy and took him into England, where he was educated and prepared for his coming role. Okay, now this is important. This is J. Krishnamurti, who was buddy-buddy with Tessarian's grandfather. And these two people of the Theosophical Society, remember, that's Aleister Crowley and Blavatsky. Now, two people tried to recruit this guy, this Krishnamurti, and say he was going to be the new Christ and everything. And they educated him and prepared him for his coming role, or programmed, he says. Now, that's very important, I think. When we look at what has happened to Tessarian. He was also made head of a newly formed worldwide religious organization, the Order of the Star of the East, in 1911, but in 1929, after many years of questioning himself, he dissolved the order, repudiated its claims, and returned the assets given to him for its purpose. Out of his own spiritual, quote, process he experienced from 1922 onwards, he declared, "Truth is pathless, Truth is a pathless land, and you cannot approach it by any path whatsoever, by any religion or sect. Truth being limitless, unconditioned, unapproachable by any path whatsoever, cannot be organized, nor should any organization be formed to lead or to coerce people along any particular path. My own concern is to set humanity absolutely unconditionally free. Man cannot come to it through any organization, through any creed, through any dogma, priest, or ritual, not through any philosophic knowledge or psychological technique, but has to find it through some understanding of the contents of his own mind, through observations and not through intellectual analysis or introspective dissection. In 1984, he spoke to nuclear scientists at the National Laboratory Research Center at Los Alamos, New Mexico, USA. David Bohm, Ph.D., the quantum physicist and friend of Einstein, recognized in Krishnamurti's teaching parallels with his own revolutionary theories of physics. This led to many years of dialogue between the two men, which helped form a bridge between the so-called mysticism and science. Other scientists found his discussions of the time thought and death to be thought-provoking. Okay, the reason this is really, really crazy is that this J. Krishnamurti guy also had schools, and he mentions that his mother, the mysterious psychic I can't find, went to one of J. Krishnamurti's schools. Okay, that's a little interesting, you know, maybe, I don't know, but apparently this Annie Besant and C.W. Ledbetter, you know, they have the power to determine if somebody's going to be the coming world teacher and proclaim to be the reincarnation of Christ, and then set him out trying to teach him all the things that he's going to need to know. And the guy, apparently, for whatever reason, maybe he was part of the plan, maybe not, but he says, "Hey, whoa, I don't want to be Jesus. You know, I don't think that people can do it like this. Whatever. I don't know if that was him or what, but he apparently didn't want to be Jesus, so he rejected it, or they rejected him. I don't know." But, and then you have this J. Krishnamurti in 1984 talking with the Los Alamos people in New Mexico and the quantum physicists and friends of Einstein and stuff. You know, this starts to get into a lot of the weirdness. I mean, think about Crowley, who was all involved in the whole NASA thing with the Jack Parsons and the Moonchild and all that stuff. I mean, Crowley not himself, but like, you know, all that whole theosophical stuff came through them. I mean, there's some weirdness going on there, especially when you consider Tsarian's history. I mean, his grandfather was friends of Krishnamurti. You know, it's very possible, and this is my contention, this is what I was looking for in the first place, this is why I was so astounded, that Tsarian, being who he is, I mean, there's no doubt he is very, very knowledgeable, very much a genius, and it just seems to me that it just seems too I don't know, like he's been trained for this. And I would say some things about that, but I'll just keep on going here. He established, still talking with about Krishnamurti guy here. He said he established foundations in India, Europe, and the United States with the defined role of protecting the teachings from being distorted and of disseminating his work. And it gives some links, and it says, by the way, Krishnamurti Foundation is managed by white boys. I wonder what that tells us. They do in this link look a little brotherhood, but then he says, and just listen to what he says. You can totally vibe with him, but in my opinion, he's part of the network bringing you the great truth of don't bother with the outside world, Illumies, and just look inside you, because that's the only way to change the mess. Yeah, or be passive while the NWO kicks in. Now let's go to his mentors, and I think this is interesting. It says, Michael was born and raised in Ireland and grew up learning metaphysics from Krishnamurti, Reverend Paul Solomon, and Peter Boleyn. Growing up around leading free thinkers and mystery school creators, he was under pressure to find his own authentic voice rather than becoming dependent on the systems and influences of others. He had honored his pedigree by dedicating his life to the deepest research concerning the seminal metaphysical sciences. And unlike so many, he believes in honoring the work and the names of his mentors. Intuitive since birth, he was introduced to the tarot at age 11 through Reverend Paul Solomon's premier mystery school, the Fellowship of the Inner Light Movement, and learning of its profound effects on human intuition and its value, and as an empowerment tool, committed his life to bringing tarot into the lives of others. He has been affiliated with the Paul Solomon Foundation of Virginia, the Rosicrucian Order, the Naz-Habaki Sufi Order, and has taught indigo children at the New Age Academy in Berkeley, and is a frequent guest of Seeing Beyond and Kest and the Bay Area's leading metaphysical radio programs. Okay, let's start with Belin. Belin Tarot. He gives a link here to Belin's site. He says, he's quoting here, I think, it's a guide to the Mayan Tarot deck. Peter Belin, the painter of the Exultan Tarot deck, has written a book called About the Tarot and the Mayan Indians Viewing the World. This is a very relevant book that deals with the problems of our times. Although the approach is new and deals with the American knowledge, it will serve all tarot decks regardless of their origin. The reader journeys with the Fool towards the impeccability of the sorcerer, and each step along the way clearly defined. The graphics alone are so spellbinding that even if you are not interested in the Mayas or the tarot, there is something in this book for you. He gives another link. It says, it is obvious where Michael learned the tarot from. Nothing suspicious so far, but for the common sense reasoning that all this knowledge comes from the Brotherhood Network, especially the Rose Cross. They just call it the mystery schools. Yet right there, all dependent and teach the truth despite the Brotherhood effects to prevent that. Or do they? We'll see. But first let's have a look at Solomon, big-time mentor of Tessarian. And Michael still pushes Solomon's info, so to suggest a breakup would be, well, wrong. Paul Solomon. Check his bio. It's elite from start to finish. He's too pushing this inner light, fancy stuff. Looks like a network, global and fast-growing as well. And if you look at the structure, it's pure brotherhood. He gives 2 links here. He recommends Tessarian, whom he calls a master soul. And by the way, Solomon was a meta-human, you see. Go and read about Baba, Krishnamurti, Solomon, and yeah, even Tessarian, and they're all better humans than we are. They're all masters who bring us truth. Funny how they get all that money for setting up a worldwide network of schools, temples, etc. I do wonder where they get it from. Plus, where they get their knowledge from. Couldn't have something to do with their elite upbringing? They all got educated from a very young age onwards. You may want to read Springmeyer's Deep Insights. Yeah, I know he doesn't write that fancy stuff, but his info might help to understand some things. Then he says, anyway, check out the logo of the Paul Solomon Foundation. And you'll find out later, and he gives a few examples of why that's Rose Cross, and he says, any similarities? And shows a few other examples. You'll see this all throughout the post. Do I see a lamp there? Well, let's better look at the assassins and how they too connect with the Rose Cross. Symbols don't lie, by the way. Ask Tessarian. Read this link. It also makes a Sufi connection. Wait, didn't Tessarian say he was affiliated with the Rose Cross and Sufis? Yeah, of course he is, since they're the same, really. And he goes into this connection with the Islamic Sufis and makes the lamp connection here, symbolically as well. But you really got to read about the Sufis and their connections to the Rose Cross. As you read through the stuff, the links here about whether what the Rosicrucians believe and what the Sufis and stuff believe, you'll start to get this idea of exactly the premises that Tessarian is saying. Not always the Atlantis and the aliens and everything else, but the general concepts are all being played out here. And it's also obvious that they don't. I mean, like the whole thing about the Rosicrucians, part of it was that. Well, one version of their history was that their leader was converted by Mark of, the Gospels Mark, and at that point merged it with the Egyptian mystery schools. I mean, that's Gnosticism at its core, and it's telling you right there that even the Horus-Jesus similarities were never even supposed to be real. They were all just a merging of it. And so you have a lot of this stuff that people think is so true in history. It's like, oh, didn't you know Horus and Jesus were the same thing? Yeah, I know that you can type into Google Horus and Jesus and have a lot of people tell you that, but you can't go to the Egyptian Book of the Dead and find that, and you can't go to any other accounts or hieroglyphs of Horus and find that. You have to go via the mystery schools, and they will tell you that. And you go to Plutarch, and he will tell you that. It's Gnosticism mixed with this elitist stuff. The Rosicrucians have a very unique history. You do need to look into it. The Sufis are a part of that. Let's continue. And he's a member of both, he says. Or at least he's affiliated with both. Let's see. And he goes on, he says, in my opinion, you don't need to check the logo to see that the Rose Cross stands behind Solomon and his foundation. All you have to do is read some books written by Rosicrucians for Rosicrucians. Very, very interesting. Let's say if I would put the name Tessarion on most of the forum, if I would have put the name Tessarion on it, most of the forum would vibe with it. But you can all see that for yourself soon. By the way, Michael's articles on metaphysics, etc., are featured in the High Window column of the Psychic Reader, the official organ of the Berkeley Psychic Institute of California. Wait, let's check the logo of Berkeley, shall we? And again, roses and stuff. BerkeleyPsychic.com. Oh, wait, just another coincidence. Nothing to worry about. Gnostics rock. And if you're wondering what I'm reading from, I'll just go ahead and link you to, I'll put a link to this on the website, which is conspiracyclothes.com/nowhere to run. And it'll be on the show notes section of this show, which will be 12/5/07. And there's two shows on 12/5/07, but you'll be able to find which one it is, and just click on that link and you'll see what I'm referring to. Wait, let's look into the founder of Berkeley as well. God gave you the right to know yourself. What we find at Berkeley Psychic Institute is the man's pursuit of his grace. How does one find God's love if he doesn't know the inside of his own divine being? As a spirit expresses himself through a body, he finds that the total value of his body is reassessed and that it adds up to his personal grace. And that's from Dr. Louis S. Bostwick. Wow, more fancy stuff. By the way, he's the founder of the Church of Divine Man. Ready for a logo check? He gives links. Haha, you couldn't make this stuff up. What a big surprise. It's a rose. It's the rose as for Rosicrucians. Again, network anyone? And another example of the, quote, church within. It's another symbol showing the merging of all religions and the Rose Cross connection to the merging of all religions. The Rosicrucians apparently, symbolically, really want to merge a lot of religions. And they all do it with the symbology of the rose and the cross. It's very telling to me. It gives more links here. It says, check that link and see for yourself how many of these New Agers, Gnostics, and Love the Inner Light people are connected to the Rose Cross. Rudolf Steiner as well. And look at him and you'll see that the same modus operandi, a school network, and be mildly opposed by the system. The letter is the old, come on, we give him a bit of credibility and oppose him trick. The same thing, different names and the characters for different audiences. Same agenda, though. Ever heard of the word controlled opposition? It somehow comes to mind, of course, that the Rose Cross is a good organization, somehow outside the Brotherhood network. Sorry to say, but no, and I will make this very clear. A little foretaste. Perhaps the best explanation is that proposed by Colin Wilson in his preface on the book on Rosicrucians by Christopher McIntosh. This human desire to turn inward to a world of truth that he feels resides in his own depth, I believe, explains why Rosicrucianism has continued to exert its grip on the Western mind. It is not because we are hopelessly gullible or because we would like to believe in absurd fantasies. In the legend that the Christian Rosencreuz, he's the founder guy I was talking about, we seem to catch a glimpse of what we ought to be and what we could be. His conclusion, the Scottish Rite, by offering the Rose Cross degree to its members, is only opening the door. Not everybody will profit from the opportunity to go through it and delve into its field of study. What matters is that the opportunity exists. This, after all, is the Masonic method and philosophy of our Orden. In all its structures, we put the tools in the hands of the brother and let him labor according to his capacity and development, without compulsion, without prize, except for the process to a further degree, which will present new challenges. So just to recap what that's saying there is that the Rosicrucians are in no way separate from the Scottish Rite or Freemasonry. I mean, it's a degree offered to Scottish Rite Freemasons, a degree that they can choose to go to if they want to, you know. I mean, so you already have to be a part of the Scottish Rite, apparently. I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong about that, but it's definitely not separate. In conclusion, it says, anyway, let's look into the Sufi order a bit, another network, and I really encourage you to look into what possible difference there could be in the Sufi and the rest of it. And it says, count the stripes. It's talking about the symbols of these things. Count the stripes. Yeah, 13. I know how obsessed these bastards are. It says, way to the heart, spiritual masters, blah, 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 same old talk. I can't really hear it anymore. Not from all this massive organizations who are part of the Brotherhood people have to look behind for this rhetoric. The devil is the master of words. Let's have a look, as if the quote devil is master of words. Let's have a look at their symbol again. And again, we have another symbol check here. Oh, wait, I think we've seen that one before. He shows the connection to the Rose Cross. And he says, read through this site. Also, note the similar symbol. I encourage you to do that. These are all about Rosicrucians, for Rosicrucians and all that. You can really, if you really want to know, do they believe something that we should be concerned about? Is Tsarian, does he seem like he's a part of what these Rosicrucians are saying that their order is all about? Or is he exactly like that? And it says, that's Tsarian's banner, by the way. And it's got the Rose Cross and everything else over and over again. It says the famous symbol affiliated with the Rose Cross, and it's a very detailed symbol. Gives some more links here. It says, also, after asked if he was a member, he didn't answer, but said that it was a private thingy. Yeah, or he can't tell you straight away because of his oath. Possible, and he wouldn't be that he would just say, nah, I was affiliated with him, but I left, or something like that. Anyway, you'll find the symbol on his banner also used in the Order of the Golden Dawn in OTO. Why is that? The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn gives Rose Cross. Couldn't be, could it? Well, skeptics have a look here. They don't even hide it. Also note the icons. Gives another link. The Rose Cross and the red and blue triangles. Now to the OTO. Read a bit through it. They also think Gnostics rock. Hey, nice fellas. Gives this link. From that gives another link. From that site, the OTO was not founded by Aleister Crowley, as many would believe, but an Austrian paper chemist, Karl Kellner. Well, Kellner was at least close to the Rosicrucians. Gives another link saying that. And like the Rose Cross, they're into Gnostics, art, etc., etc. Check out some OTO artwork here. Note the painting. See the snake around the egg. Well, here we go again. And goes to a Terrascope site, which is Michael Tsarian's site. Doesn't he quote from Crowley's book on the law on his blog, OTO and Gnostics again, quoting to more sites. By the way, just found this one, another artist who likes blue and red triangles. And okay, he goes on and he says, here's some wine, a typical bloodline thingy, but also really cultivated in Gnostics like Rosicrucians. Okay, I'm being a bit sarcastic now. I don't want to bash Gnostics. How could I? Since there's a lot of truth to find in it, but it comes from the Brotherhood, and they are all too happy to teach us about it. I ask, why? The name of the cross, just to scroll up in case you can't remember, is pretty obvious in my opinion. That shall show you guys that these people are the leading artists, scholars, and New Age gurus, or in my opinion, handlers of them, Gnostic teachers, Druids, tarot, etc., etc. These people are elite too, and they do work for the agenda, which you can see in their zero opposition that these people face. Let's have a check onto Ike Debunk sites if you want some proportions. I gotta say this is true. I mean, I cannot believe how little there is of people against Tsarian. I think that's why, the people in his, on his board and stuff were also thankful. There was so much outpouring of thanks that somebody had finally said this stuff, and everybody was giving me their things that they had found wrong with them, and he says this wrong and translates this wrong, and everybody was so glad to have an outlet to talk about this. It was amazing, and they weren't all just like people that were like me or anything. He goes on. He says, read this about the Rosicrucian order it says the Rosicrucian order, AMORC, is the internationally known as the ancient mystical order Rosicrucius. We are a non-sectarian body of men and women devoted to the investigation, study, and practical application of natural and spiritual laws. Our purpose is to further the evolution of humanity through the development of the full potential of each individual. Our goal is to enable everyone to live in harmony with creative, cosmic forces for the attainment of health, happiness, and peace. To assist in this attainment, the Rosicrucian Order offers the world's foremost system of instruction and guidance for exploring the inner self and discovering the universal laws that govern all human endeavor. It is based on the collective ancient wisdom and current knowledge of many of the world's most respected philosophers, artists, and scientists. Our teaching includes specific knowledge of metaphysics, mysticism, psychology, parapsychology, and science, not taught by conventional educational systems or traditional religions. This profound wisdom, carefully preserved by the mystery schools for centuries, is transmitted today through the Rosicrucian Order to every sincere person with an open mind and a positive motive. We do not propose a belief system nor a dogmatic decree, but a personal, practical approach to living that each student must learn and master through their own experiences. Our teachings do not attempt to dictate what you should think. We want to think for yourself. What we provide are simply the tools to enable you to accomplish this. The Rosicrucian Order consists of thousands of men and women in over 100 countries throughout the world. To teach a diverse membership, AMORC is divided by language into jurisdictions called Grand Lodges. Wow, and he says, wow, how fancy is that? Vibe points 9 out of 10. Let's all join it. Let's all join the Rose Cross. Viva la Reformation. I'll agree too there. I mean, if that description right there just sounds like it's the best thing in the world. Let's all just jump in. Talking about Reformation, I noticed that this anti-NWO logo that is the reverse pyramid with a man standing on top of it, right? I can't find it now, but I'm sure I'll find it sooner or later, but some people use it as an avatar. Does this look remarkably like this one? And he shows this ancient symbol and shows, and where do you find this? The Rennes-le-Château. Wait, the Chateau not connected with the Knights Templar, but specifically with Priory de Zion. Yep, that's right. Wait for this one. The Order of the Cross is nothing less than the Priory de Zion. And who brought us the Renaissance? Who are the leading free thinkers, artists, scholars of the old days? Nostradamus, Newton, Da Vinci, Van Gogh, all these connected to the Priory and various other orders. Same old game, just different names. Check this one. And it shows the Grand Master of the Priory and what you would see on this site, the same cross used by the Rosicrucians. Another clue is the word Ormus. The Priory de Notre Dame du Zion, or Priory Zion, is said to be the cabal behind many of the events occurred at the Rennes-le-Château. According to the Priory's own documents, its history is long and convoluted. Its earlier roots are in some of the Hermetic or Gnostic society led by a man named Ormus. This individual is said to have reconciled paganism and Christianity. The story of Zion only comes in focus in the Middle Ages. This is an important point when you look through the links and stuff to really get a handle on this, that is a big part of the mystery schools and the secret societies, and that's a big part of what I'm trying to say, and that Bill Cooper was trying to say, that these people didn't even really claim that it's true. They people like Plutarch and stuff, and this whole reconciling of the mystery schools to Christianity is a Masonic practice. This whole idea of the shifting of what the Catholic Church is and making it be all these pagan things that have to do with other religions, and then is something that they were doing. Christianity itself doesn't, but the crazy stuff that the Catholic Church does. I mean, you can point to all the stuff that they do all day long and say, look, it's just like other religions. Like, yeah, what the Catholic Church did to Christianity is, but again, it's not Christianity. But it's really interesting to note that that's what they're doing. That's what Zeitgeist and the rest of it are doing. And the few short list of people that are bold enough to make the claims that they do without any evidence. And I just, again, can't implore you guys enough to check that for yourself. You can go to my site, offer a lot of stuff about that. How their story fits into everything would take too long to tell at this point. And that time period when the Knights Templars took off on their own, the Order de Zion became the Priory of de Zion, and we also use the names Ormus and Rose Cross. The Priory de Zion is intimately connected to the creation and guidance of the Rosicrucian Order and Freemasons. in the Be Wise as Serpents book, in chapter 12, it talks about how Priory to Zion set up the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. And gets another link. You'll find the membership list, but don't believe for a second it's complete till you get the drift, which is bloodliners and people who have shaped the world. By the way, John D. Rose Cross, read the link. Probably best of them all. Some gems from the link. It says, it generally is associated with the symbol of the Rose Cross, which is found in certain rituals beyond Craft or Blue Lodge Freemasonry. And it also says the Rosicrucian order is viewed among earlier and more modern Rosicrucianists as an inner worlds order, comprised of agent adepts. When compared to human beings, the consciousness of these adepts is like of demigods. Made a human, anyone? Master soul? Ascended master? Damn, fellas, the clues are all over the place. Anyway, it goes on. According to a lesser-known legend found in Masonic literature, the Rosicrucian order was created in year 46 when Alexandrian Gnostic sage named Ormus and his 6 followers were converted by one of Jesus' disciples, Mark. From this conversion, Rosicrucianism was born by fusing early Christianity with Egyptian mysteries. By this account, rather than being its founder, Rosencreutz would have been initiated into and become the Grand Master of an already existing order. No, I don't believe Jesus has something to do with it, but I still believe that to be more accurate than the Rosencreutz story, or fairy tale, however you want to call it, their doctrine had its source in the study of ancient Greek philosophers, i.e. Plutarch, but it came more pronounced in the Neo-Pythagorean direction. They adopted Pythagorean traditions and envisioned objects and ideas in the terms of the numeric concepts, the thenergy taught by the divine and angelic names, conjurations, the Kabbalah, exorcisms, and related subjects. The Brethren of Purity and the Sufis were united in many points of doctrine. They both were mystical orders derived from Quranic theology, where dogma is supplanted by faith in the divine reality. Many similarities with the Rosicrucian way were expressed in the manifestos of the Brethren of Purity, ways of life as well. Sufi connection again, but more interestingly, the Kabbalah. Priory were known for teaching, but specifically using the Kabbalah. Also a very good link. And it says, have a look at the Rose Museum in California. Another link, Egypt connection is quite obvious. Here is more. Quote, another example which just popped up and makes the Gnostic Rose Cross connection. It's really everywhere. White Rose under the code for a Rose Cross, so some more symbols. White Rose University, blah, blah, blah. Nordicon, lots of stuff. Also, Manly P. Hall, the 33rd degree Mason and other shooting star of lately, recommended by Tessarian and the AMORC, in nice company, by the way. Manly P. Hall, The Secret Teachings of All Ages. Max Heindel, wrote The Secret Teachings of All Ages. These are books, I guess, Tessarian recommends. Max Heindel, The Rosicrucian Cosmos Conception. Aldous Huxley, The Perennial Philosophy. Eliphas Levi, The History of Magic. Blavatsky's Secret Doctrine. The Egyptian Book of the Dead. Kabbalah stuff. Again, this isn't, just recommending books isn't bad, but okay, it says Rudolf Steiner, Christianity as a mythical fact and occult mysteries of antiquity, which describes the true esoteric Christianity kept alive in heretical groups like the Bogomils and the Aboriginals. Truth brought to you by Brotherhood Peoples. Tessarian's own words, quote, my first major discoveries in the tarot were made in the mid-90s in California. After years of intense study of philosophy, occultism, mythology, ancient religions, sacred geometry, Pythagorean mathematics, cosmology, alchemy, etymology, and finally astrotheology, I became aware that the divination arts were all intimately connected and were taught as one subject in the days of old, not in the fragmented manner of today. In the late 90s, I began giving classes in the divination arts with the emphasis on tarot. My classes were first held in Los Angeles and then later in the San Francisco Bay Area. My mission is to bring these empowering arts into as many lives as possible on a grassroots level. He says, I come directly from the philosophical, metaphysical traditions. It is my bloodline. It is, quote, my bloodline from my generations past. We would do well, therefore, to remember that though many can teach ancient subjects, few can teach them in the ancient way, and there is a difference. So he's talking about his bloodline here. Okay, and he goes on to talk about how in his blog he talks about, that he was affiliated and learned and studied with all these different groups, including the Sufis and all these religious groups, and he says he learned everything from them, but he never was a member of any of them, which is interesting that he doesn't mention Rosicrucians, because he mentions the Sufis, which is basically the Islamic Rosicrucians, it appears. You can do the research there. And he mentions all these other religions, but he omits Rosicrucians from that big long list when he says, I wasn't a member of any of these, but I learned too much from them, or something, to that effect. And then, I think, again, this isn't about, oh, he's a Rosicrucian, that's it, that proves something. Well, not really, until you can study about the Rosicrucians. Are they the same group, or are they not affiliated with, or what's the connection between the Rosicrucians as the oaths they take and the things that they believe? How does that jive with, let's say, the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry? And is the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry and the rest of that and the rest of the secret societies, are they a part of the NWO, or are they exactly the NWO, or are they, what's the connection there? Should we be concerned about that? And let's just go back from that for a second. Let's just say that it's okay, and it's not really that big a deal. But we have to at least agree that it does appear that the Rosicrucians as an organization, whether they are, the white magicians or something, some kind of separate from the black magicians, doublespeak kind of situation like that, then, they definitely want to unite all the world's religions. And I would suggest to you that the one world government needs a one world religion, and that is a big part of this. That the whole truth movement seems to just be missing that there could be any dogmatic agenda, because they've been told by these same people, the same people putting forth a dogmatic propaganda, that they're pulling the wool over your eyes by saying that there is a dogmatic propaganda, but it's the Christians. They're trying to control your minds with the Bible, which they never, was illegal to read the Bible, the Catholic Church, so some control mechanism that they thought that was. But you see what I'm saying? The Rosicrucians want a one-world religion real badly. It seems like almost agenda number one. And here, Tessarian, who, by all accounts, is affiliated very deeply with the Rosicrucians, at his basic premise is saying, if you take all the specifics out and just look at his work as a whole, all you can come out with is, we really should all unite religiously. This is all about, this is certainly not about Christianity, but it's about, we were genetically seeded by aliens, and, that's the whole Ronald Reagan thing. In order to really unite the world, we need to do that with, with an alien threat. And that's what my show's been about since the beginning, is the fact that they are pushing this dogma, getting ready to introduce some kind of cosmic situation, whether real or promulgated, as Henry Kissinger says, and unite us in that way, and then we'll just follow right into the one world government, but it'll be utopia, because it'll be led by the aliens, or somebody that is in contact with the aliens. But see, the thing is, that's what the Bible said 2,000 years ago. It laid out their plan, and that's why they have to continually discredit it. Think of that, about that logically with me. If these people have an agenda to create a one world government and a one world religion, and the Bible went and told on them 2,000 years ago, which validates the rest of it, of course they're going to have a massive campaign to discredit that. Oh, don't look at that. That's just crazy. You wouldn't want anything to do with that. Don't look at that. It's not for you. That's stupid. That's propaganda. For there to control your mind. Don't you know?